Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cloud Lounge. I am Enrico Signoretti, your host and moderator. The Cloud Lounge is a live talk show. You can think about it as an open roundtable discussion. We are inspired by thought-provoking articles and compelling news sourced from articles and commenting on the internet. Topics include the domain of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, data management, security, infrastructure, IT strategy, and brilliant minds that shape our industry. Sometimes we also, mention anecdotes from our interaction with various teams at Cubbit, partners, and customers. My responsibility here is to initiate the conversation by providing a session context and an initial commentary. So then we open the floor to the microphone for your comments and opinions. So these live sessions are recorded and later shared as a podcast. So the Cloud Lounge experience is something we think interesting for for our community of users, and also everybody that really looks for something new and something where they can learn something, but at the same moment they can share their experience. So the podcast is then available on Spotify and released a few days later on YouTube. So without any further ado, let's start with the topics of today. So the first topic that I want to touch on is massive. We're talking about 1.2 billion euro GDPR fine that hit last week. Facebook. This is huge. And I have to be honest here. I've been wondering since the inception of GDPR about why the European Commission is not, doing anything with these big American social media companies. And actually, I think that. Most of what happened is that they are just slow, and it takes a lot of time to do this kind of investigations. So 1.2 billion is the biggest one ever. The second one was Amazon last year with more than 800 million for an infringement on advertisement. This is even worse because they really take to one of the biggest part of the how the information flow between Europe and US. As you know, so you can't process data of European users in the US, but actually, if you think about the architecture of this mega social networks, it's really difficult. I mean, we have now a lot of attempts at decentralized social networks, like Mastodon, for example, or I think the one that Jack Dorsey launched, so the founder of Twitter launched not long ago, is called Sky High. And these are, an attempt to build a decentralized network where each single server, each single community lives in a specific place, and you can communicate with others, but actually your data don't really leave the place where you decided to be. And for Facebook, it's a massive problem. So they are really decided to appeal this, and if they don't find a solution, the worst case scenario is that they will be forced to split Facebook in two, for example, or even worse, eliminate Europe from their network. I don't think it is possible because we are talking about more than a couple of hundred millions of users, daily users that are on the platform. So and probably on multiple platforms, but this is very big. I don't know if some of you want to join the conversation and tell me what do you think about Facebook and this GDPR fine, especially thinking about if this is the first time really that they are doing something against a social network of this size, and if this opens a can of worms, because immediately after they could go against any major U.S. corporation that really moves data between the two continents. Well, I think it's tough for everybody. I mean, in many cases, it's so. Last night, uh, I went to a rooftop bar. Okay, so on top of an hotel, there is this very nice place. It's just a pub, but because the Italian law, they have to see your ID every time, because you enter an hotel in Italy. Every time you enter in a hotel, you have to give your ID for a identification. There are some laws. I think it was from the time of terrorism and everything. So they have to collect all the data, and last time, this was not the first time we went there. And said, why don't you save? Now you know us. Why don't you save the data? And they told me very clearly, well, we don't want to save anything because we don't know how to treat your data in the end. I mean, so it's a risk for us to keep the data for longer than needed. So I just take a picture, and tomorrow I will throw everything away. So I send the data to the authorities, and that's it. So that was, I mean, somehow mind blowing, because this process. I mean, the pub is really nice, but actually, you have to get in a line every time. So there is this relatively long queue, and you wait 10 minutes in front of it. Sometimes you may lose a customer just for that. And so all of this to look, there are some issues with GDPR in general. So and also I think it's also important to understand where is the limit. I mean, so not storing data because you are scared about GDPR, I think it's not good. Taking actions to understand better the law and understand what you can do to not go, to not get a fine, because the fines are huge. There is a database. If you look at GDPR compliance fines, there is a huge database maintained by the European Commission, and you will find thousands and thousands. Most of them are really small fines, but some of them are huge. And we always think about Facebook and Google and others, but actually there are so many others in this list. It's a huge database. So we have to think better on how we store data, how we are managing the data, and this is becoming really tough now, because think about it. As you mentioned, you are an hospital, you get attacked for a ransomware. Actually, most of the ransomware are becoming more and more sophisticated now, and before encrypting your data, they steal the data. And what they do is sometimes they just not need to encrypt your data. They just can ask a ransom to not show the data around. And as you mentioned, for this data breach that is occurred, I think, I don't remember if it was an hospital or an healthcare, but it was in the news not long ago, right? You were mentioning that one, and in that case, so they got two problems. One is everything was leaked on a website, and they lost credibility, but also they got sued by their patients. So in Europe it isn't worse. So you lose credibility, you get fined for for not having the right GDPR mechanisms in place, and then you get a lawsuit by patients. So that could be a massive blow for any company.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Stefano. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Hi,
sorry.
all. Good morning. I'm just curious because I'm seeing Facebook has got actually a lot of fines. No, almost once a month they get fined for a few hundred millions. So what I'm curious is, when do you think, at which point can actually the European Union force them to actually comply or leave the region in business
Well,
wise?
sometimes it's really hard because they make so much money and think, okay, they got 1 billion fine. It's okay. I mean, it's just a line item in their budget. Probably they make 1 billion in a few days. So it's not, and I'm not talking about revenues. I mean, I'm talking about earnings. So we are really thinking about 1 billion is huge for us, but sometimes they can pay, or they can find an agreement to pay a little bit less, and that's okay. In this case, it's particular because in this article that I read, I mean, they are asking to stopping the flow. So maybe there are options for the European Commission to really really block the service at some point. I mean, not accessible from European users. And we all know there are VPNs, there are other things. But actually, my mother doesn't really. My mother is not on Facebook. But actually, if you think about somebody that has to implement a VPN to access Facebook, probably from a mobile phone, you are 50 years old, you are not in the IT. I mean, Europe counts for 20-25% of their total revenues. It's huge. I mean, they have to do something. Even splitting the network in two could be a solution at some point. So, and at the same time, they are working. They are lobbying to get an agreement between the US and Europe about data movements. I'm not sure that the Europeans are really listening, and I hope not, actually, because for me, I'm not a Facebook user. So I'm more of an Instagram kind of guy. I mean, I take a lot of pictures about food still today. I know it's stupid, but I do it. And the problem is, I can live with that. I mean, so I don't need to reach people in the US. And by the way, it's not really. I mean, it's not really a problem for us Europeans. I mean, they have to find a way to segregate our data and keep it in Europe. I'm pretty sure that by reworking the architecture, they can do it. I'm pretty sure also that they can do it in 6 months. But they had years and years to do it. It's just they need it's just the will to do it at some point. So and that's the thing. I mean, I don't really like that my data is in the hands of Facebook or Google, and most of the time we just forget that we are trading our privacy for simplicity, for for free software, for free services. But actually, that's it. I mean, they are using all this data all the time, and I would pay for a service like Facebook. I mean, not that much, not a lot, but I'm pretty sure that a service without ads, a service just where I see my friends, my colleagues, and I can have a chat with them. Why not? So they don't need my data. They don't really. I mean, I don't want them to have my data. And this could be a political thing, but in the end, it's why the GDPR is there with all these laws, etc. So we can do it.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
there. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, that was what I was about to comment. That it's kind of getting geopolitical. No, it's almost like each major region in the world is kind of getting in its own strategy. Not only data wise, no, even supply chains, government, a lot of things, and feels like there's a lot less collaboration than in the past decades. No.
Yeah, and if you think about TikTok, I mean there is a huge campaign against TikTok in the
Yeah.
U.S. Last week, I don't remember which state in the U.S. they blocked the use of TikTok, and you say, okay, they are doing the same. I mean, they are worried that the data ends up in the hands of Chinese,
Exactly. Yeah.
and and because TikTok is much more smarter than Instagram and Facebook, and they have a better AI algorithm, etc. They really understand who you are, what you do, what you need, etc., etc. So they have a very good profile of you, and they are scared of it, so they are blocking TikTok. Why can't we block Facebook and TikTok? Maybe? But that's the idea. I mean, that's the whole idea. So we are all scared about our privacy, where our data ends up. And totally, so you are a cybersecurity guy, then you know that better than me. 90% of these games on Facebook, like when they ask you, what is your favorite dish, or what is the name of your pet. This is, how is it called? Social engineering. So they are stealing information about you. So they associate your name with name of your pet, the name of your first kid, your favorite dish, and so on. So they have a database on which they can run, password matching and other things like that. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. Totally. That's the
And they
topic
build a
in the end.
profile about you, all information that they can sell. I mean, I don't want that. I mean, at least they are publicly available. I never, play these games, but I know a lot of people do it, and they don't know what they are doing. They are just giving away, their life.
Yeah, that's the thing. As long as we don't know exactly what they collect and how they do it, considering how we use these applications, it's actually pretty scary. They could know even more than we know about ourselves. No.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, an extremely interesting thing I was reading about this is that it was actually proved that when you're using TikTok and you click on a link and it opens in the embedded kind of interface in TikTok, like not in your Safari, it's actually collecting everything you're typing down, like even passwords, credit card numbers. It's crazy.
Yeah. But we can see something like this also about Instagram. I think that there was a similar behavior of Instagram. So they are trying to force you to use their internal web browsers so they can skip all the in your iPhone you can set that you don't want to be tracked by this news and stuff, and by actually using the Instagram web browser, you are somehow forced to they bypass this policy. So maybe they are not taking your password or other things, but actually they collect much more than they should do. So they are all the same. I mean, some of them are American, some of them are Chinese. Maybe we have also social networks in Europe. I don't know, but more or less they are collecting as much as they can, and the first reason is advertisement. But actually, they have all this data; they could do practically everything. So this is really really bad. I don't know if somebody else wants to join the conversation and tell us their opinion on what is happening on this topic. And it's 2023. It's several years now that the GDPR has been enforced, and we started seeing it in the first year, very few things, but then it kept growing and growing, and now this is the biggest fine ever registered. So just let us know your opinion. Okay, good. So on another topic that I wanted to touch in this episode is about a totally different one, but it's something that I studied in the past um, as I was a VAR system integrator, a small system integrator based in Italy many years ago, and I was starting at that time becoming more of an MSP than a VAR, and lately, meeting with our customers at Cubbit, I found that many other VARs are in this transition. So, and I saw this happening also when I was at Geekom. So it's really cool because the reseller, like we know it, and so the guy that has a limited pre-sales capabilities, has some professional services but not that much, and they serve several small clients. By becoming an MSP, so having more control on the infrastructure of these clients, they can provide some of the benefits of the cloud without actually give away their customers to the cloud. Because one of the most worrisome things for a small VAR is to start working with the cloud, because they think, okay, I will start doing that, and then after a while I will lose my customer that you can do everything without me. And lately I've been talking with a lot of these MSPs, next generation MSPs, called that this way. So they don't really have a data center on their own, but actually they do more and more simple things. So they put a small appliance on the customer premises, and these small appliances usually have some monitoring stuff and a few services on top of it, and they are monitoring the situation, doing all the remote work that they can do, and also take advantage of some of the resources of the customer to improve the efficiency of their overall customer base. This is really cool, and this is something that is really changing the way these users are consuming IT, much more than what we see from major vendors. You know that many vendors are implementing this let's say infrastructure as a service like kind of approach. So you can have this cloud experience. So there are catalogs, you buy hardware in a hardware as a service, but there is a lot of work to do at the beginning. You have to commit on some on a minimal spending per year, so it's complicated. While for the medium-sized customers, small-sized customers, MSP are much more friendly. They are close to you and your business, and this is something that I really love. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big company to become this kind of small MSP, but it's happening more and more often, and this is something that I really love. I don't know, guys, if you want to add something, if you had a similar experience. Again, it happened to me lately, talking with the users and these VARs becoming MSPs. That is, growing in numbers like crazy.
Yeah, I think as well this approach is extremely compelling, particularly for the Italian market, where you have all these small businesses where it's inevitable that the infrastructure and especially the security part is more and more important, but in most of the cases they don't have the resources to manage it themselves. But also from vendor point of view, where I work, it's kind of tough to market to go to market with these MSP, because there are a lot of them. It's quite fragmented market, as you guys were saying. It's mostly small companies themselves, so it's also challenging. And I don't know what's your take about that.
No, for sure, it's really challenging. I mean, so these are very small shops. They don't really have, a lot of people, and for a vendor, it means to have a lot of contacts to manage. They are all different. Sometimes they play in the same field. I mean, with the same customers. So it's it's always it's always very 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 difficult. Unfortunately, I mean Italy, but I think not only Italy. If you look at all around Europe, our you know we have a lot of small to medium companies, especially Italy, Spain, south of Europe, probably more than other countries, but even France and the north of Europe, you can count so many small companies, and the business models may differ a little bit here and there, but actually the channel is key to the success of these vendors. So this is also you see a lot of distributors and resellers here in these countries, but again, from the small VAR perspective, if you don't put some services on top of your sales, then it becomes really really hard to make some money. And so this is also why they are trying to build this MSP like experience for their customers. They can give more. They don't ask too much, and in the end, they provide a better service to this customer that become more loyal. So it's a virtuous cycle somehow that start and and closes on the reseller. So there is the smarter resellers are the more active in the space. This is what I saw. So and this is interesting. Again, I think that in the next few years we will see more and more moving towards integrated services than today, because it's the only way to give these end users a way to cope with the additional needs that everybody has. I mean, more data, more applications, more automations, digital transformation happen. So it means that now you have a lot of more processes that are digitalized. At the same time, we are living in this continuous migrations of applications and services. Like during the pandemic, everybody started to move to Office 365 or similar services because they were working from home, and these SaaS you know um, these SaaS suites were the only way to manage properly remote workforce, etc. Now you are not going back, but actually you are keeping adding more and more, and your IT team is the same size. So you have to get to some consultant, somebody that you trust that can help you with this.
Yeah, and it's even a more efficient approach. No, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the customers to have to buy software and transform it into a solution to figure it out themselves, when most likely a lot of other customers are facing the same challenge for very similar projects. It makes a lot more sense that some MSP company does that for all of them. No.
Exactly, totally. Okay, guys, that was great. I mean, it was another week of I think interesting conversation. Let's keep it going. We can call it a wrap for today. But again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you, Francesco. I hope to see you next week. And with this, bye bye.
A pleasure. See you guys.